Okay, so I just got done playing the Dead Space 3 demo, and yeah, I'm terribly late to the party. I knew you could get the demo like last week if you signed up with Origin, but I don't want to sell my soul to the devil. That being said, I finally got around to playing the game. I've been terribly on the fence about it ever since the announcement at E3. I was torn between the first major fact being that it was neither dead nor in space after they announced that you would be fighting human enemies as well as the Necromorphs, and that you were no longer in some tin can floating in zero gravity and instead on an actual planet. However, that may change. This may be just simply a case of, this is what we're showing you now, but it gets really good after. That's my context on the game. So, because I have a long history of not liking games at first, and then when I get around to them, I remember not liking the new DMC when the first trailer came out. I think I was pretty much part of the legions of people who said no to it, but whatever. Um, so I got around to playing it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try out the co-op mode because that requires friends. Not something I wish. Sec- Secondly, you're asking why I'm dressed like this. It's another project I'm working on altogether. But yeah, Dead Space 3. Let's get into it. Unfortunately, there's no footage because unless you want to see shitty webcam footage of a game, I'm not going to torture you with that. I hate people when they post videos like that. You have every right to hate me for it. So, on to the game. I I don't think I quite like Isaac in this game. I mean, his character's just a little bit to the whiny side. And we don't see Ellie, and I really hope they either fix or explain the continuity error where in Dead Space 3 she's shown, at most a few scratches on her face, whereas in Dead Space 2 she loses her eye. If the future can regrow lost parts of your body, especially one as important as the eye, then I'd like to be informed. I'd like that to have somehow been explored. But that's nitpicking, and that has nothing to do with the demo, as I said. My biggest problem with the game has to be the weapons. I don't know, everyone's always gone off about how this whole, the weapon crafting system, it's great, it's intense. I know you have like 4 to 6 different ways to customize the weapon. You have, as in 4 to 6 slots, and when combined they form Captain Planet, aka brand new weapon. Or you can skip all that and just go for the pre-made blueprints. You know, that I can agree with. But other than that, you have what's essentially pretty boring stuff. I mean, the idea of making your own weapon is a pretty cool thing. But essentially what they mean by making a new weapon is duct taping 2 old guns together, and you rarely ever get a nice streamlined weapon. It feels cluttered. It really does feel like you're strapping guns together. The most common thing people say is that I made a line gun with this attached to it. That's pretty much what it is. You make a line gun, and in the demo anyways, you make the line gun and you duct tape multiple weapons to it. Very annoyed with the ammo though. The fact that all your weapons now drain from what I'm assuming is one ammo pool, because you only pick up with third-person shooters. It seems every single person who thinks they want to make a good game, they just make a cover-based third-person shooter. You kind of get sick of it because because unlike the first-person shooter, the third-person shooter is where you can show off your graphics more. The first-person shooter is equated with, whiners on Call of Duty, and more more often than not assholes. Yeah, assholes, whichever floats your boat. And my problem with this is that, there is, when they teach you about the cover system, it's so stark. I mean, the first thought, the name Dead Space was a pretty cool game, but when you see the gameplay, and then you see Dead Space 3, it comes off more like, in those cartoon shows when they want to make fun, they want to parody a video game, they want to parody the typical violent video game. They say, Max Carnage, or no, etc. It feels just like that because it doesn't feel unique anymore. It feels like just another sci-fi shooter, and that lends to a problem with the necromorphs. The necromorphs themselves, they look like Resident Evil zombies. They've got more human silhouettes. One of them carries 2 tomahawks. Granted, you shoot him at the waist, and he becomes this, like the lurkers from the previous Dead Space games. But even then, it feels like a Resident Evil cop-out. It just feels like another zombie game, and I really think Dead Space is meant to be more immersive. They've thankfully kept that. There's still no presence of a HUD other than what's on Isaac's back, which I've always thought is the greatest thing about the Dead Space games, and thankfully they've maintained that. Aside from that, the bloody necromorphs. I mean, I like Dead Space 2. I never got around to playing Dead Space 1, which I know I'm gonna get lots of flack for, but screw you. If anyone wants to buy me the game, that's brilliant, and I'll get around to it as soon as I stop doing assignments and get around to playing Devil May Cry. If you want to buy me that'd be awesome too. But yeah, so that's the biggest problem with this is that Dead Space 2, I find, had a very neat combat system. It was still horror. It was claustrophobic as shit, but aside from that, it was a very nice game. You had this refined system of stasis, rip off limb, then pick up limb and impale. I don't know about you, but that's how I played. I find that's the most enjoyable. Terrible day at work, impale zombie. And then aside from that, but the new one, the plasma pistol, I don't know what about it, but it doesn't feel like a plasma cutter anymore. It doesn't. I think it's probably has something to do with the reticle. The reticle seems a lot smaller now, and it feels like just your generic pistol. Whereas in Dead Space 2, the plasma cutter was easily the best weapon in the game. Again, I'm gonna get flack for that, but screw you, it is the best weapon in the game because the point of the game is to dismember enemies, and the plasma cutter does exactly that. Nothing more, nothing less. It can even change the angle. The shotgun, the fucking shotgun. I hate the idea of a shotgun being in Resident Evil, because Dead Space 3. That's how similar they are. They're exactly, because the shotgun is in every zombie game to clear out enemies, and the problem is you already have that in the form of the line gun and the force gun. I've never used the force gun in Dead Space 2, but you kind of have it duct taped to your assault rifle in this game, so I got a chance to use it. It's not that bad. It doesn't kill people, but it's good crowd control. The line gun, however, does as one would expect. Fires in a line. Very good for hitting enemies in a line. So all in all, I'm still about a month, well no, a week or two until the release date of Dead Space 3. I probably won't get it immediately. I'm still waiting to get DMC. By waiting, I mean hoping money falls out of the sky. Anyways, don't know why you're listening to this. You have work to do. Or stuff. I don't know. No one on YouTube actually has the free time to be on YouTube. They're supposed to be off to better stuff. If you like to tell me what you think in the comments, I should post links to my blog and stuff in case you like me talking nonsensically about stuff. And I've got an upcoming project soon, which you will hopefully see the return of this. Thanks for your time, assholes.